Okay, let's dive right into today's explainer. We're looking at some incredibly moving source material that actually reimagines a famous ancient metaphor to tackle something we're all too familiar with today, our modern epidemic of burnout and exhaustion. I mean, we live in a world where everyone seems to be carrying just an impossible load, right? Well, this material takes a really direct look at the spiritual and physical toll that takes on our bodies. It's a fascinating re-examination of what we're actually supposed to carry, and honestly, more importantly, what we aren't. So, the text starts off with this really profound observation about the physical toll of stress. It forces us to stop and ask a pretty critical question. Why do we carry weight that was never ours to begin with? Our bodies are literally holding on to burdens that no one else can even see. Your shoulders have a memory in them. They're storing the strain of expectations, fears, and all these obligations that we were never actually built to withstand. And these invisible burdens, they take so many different forms. We're talking about those unpaid debts that jolt you awake at 3 a.m., or chronic illnesses that haven't even been diagnosed yet. It's the quiet, relentless exhaustion of caregiving, the incredibly heavy grief of an empty chair at the dinner table, or even just the daily effort of masking the deep shame of needing help. Your jaw clenches, your shoulders brace to carry these things long after the people around you have stopped asking how you're doing. Which brings us to Section 1, the false yoke and where this burden actually came from. You see, we don't just wake up with this weight. We absorb it, slowly, layer by layer, through toxic environments. Think about generational trauma for a second, like parents inadvertently teaching us early on that strong kids just don't cry. Then there's hustle culture. Bosses equating your intrinsic value to the sheer volume of work you can shoulder. It also stems from relational imbalances, where partners might confuse your silent endurance with actual consent. And perhaps most notably, toxic theology. Teachers who have weaponized religion by falsely claiming that suffering is just the entrance fee you have to pay for holiness. The source states, the heaviness was the natural response of a body to a load that was not made for it. I want you to think about that quote for a second. That is a profoundly validating perspective, isn't it? It completely shifts the blame. Your exhaustion isn't a failure of faith or a lack of mental toughness. It's simply your somatic, meaning your literal physical body, reacting to a wrongfully assigned load. There's literally no faith strong enough to make the wrong yoke fit comfortably. Let's move on to Section 2, the true invitation, where we start redefining the metaphor altogether. To reconstruct a healthier worldview here, we really have to look back at the ancient text of Matthew 11 and redefine the word yoke. In the ancient agrarian world, a yoke wasn't some kind of solitary punishment. It was actually an early form of ergonomic engineering. It was this wooden harness specifically shaped to fit a pair of working animals to perfectly distribute the load. The stronger animal pulls the majority of the weight, making absolutely sure the weaker one isn't crushed. The whole point is that it was always meant for two. And understanding that leads to a radical reframing of the whole spiritual experience. The false yoke demands independent pulling, it equates suffering with obedience, and it's usually assigned by hustle culture or bad actors. But the true yoke, that is a shared harness. It's custom-fitted, described as easy and light, and it's assigned by a gentle teacher who walks at your exact pace. The divine isn't some distant foreman up there measuring your strain. It's a compassionate partner pulling the heaviest part of the load right beside you. Just listen to this. The weariness is the qualification. The weight is the very thing that means the invitation is for you. Talk about flipping the script completely. Your exhaustion is not a red flag disqualifying you from finding peace. You don't have to somehow magically get your life in order or find hidden reserves of strength first. Being heavy-laden is the exact prerequisite for receiving this rest.
All right, Section 3, the practice of unburdening, or how we actually start releasing this somatic strain.
I absolutely love how practical this source gets. It tells us we can slowly train our nervous systems to trust that it's safe to let go through 3 very distinct steps. Step 1, you literally name the load out loud. Whether it's a specific worry, a debt, a grief, you have to strip it of its anonymity. Step 2, speak this exact phrase back to the load. You are not mine to carry alone. And finally, step 3, take a long, slow exhale. The physiological wisdom in that final step is just fascinating. A long exhale tells your nervous system, hey, the impact is not coming. It's like the smallest possible prayer. It directly counteracts that bracing instinct of a body that has lived in constant survival mode for years, a body where the inhale is always larger than the exhale because you are perpetually preparing for a blow. And that brings us to Section 4, redefining healing and rest and embracing a new way of walking.
Look, rest isn't some magical vacation where all your problems suddenly vanish into thin air. Instead, the true harvest of an easy yoke is found in these really small, physical moments. It's a tiny loosening in your chest while you're just standing there folding laundry. It's actually tasting a meal because your mind isn't running 10 different threat scenarios in the background. It's a short, genuine laugh in the middle of a really, really hard week, unclenching your jaw. These moments of rest arrive quietly, kind of like a returning bird taking its place on a familiar fence.
And for those dealing with chronic illnesses where a cure isn't immediately visible, the source offers this incredibly warm and grounding framing. It notes that sometimes the healing happens in the soul of the one inside the body, even if the physical body takes a lot longer to heal. It speaks to rearranging the internal furniture, so to speak, so your soul can find a restful clearing, acknowledging that the body and soul are just different rooms in the exact same house. We're wrapping up this explainer with a remarkably provocative yet really hopeful thought from the text. You are setting a new yoke on the table, so the children behind you do not inherit the strain. By choosing to unburden yourself today, you aren't just finding relief for your own shoulders. You are actively breaking a cycle. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What generational cycle of exhaustion are you finally breaking today for the ones who come after you?